Rick Sanchez is not the smartest person in the universe.
Fuck did you just say to me?
And it's not for the reasons you might think, like the dinosaurs, Evil Morty, or Rick Prime, although one could debate which one of them is the smartest, and if they're smarter than Rick C-137, but we have the actual proof in the thing that he's most famous for, his portal gun. Now, we learned a lot about the wider Rick and Morty multiverse in the Rick Prime finale episode, but the biggest thing we got was in the background of Evil Morty's adventure. We saw over 600 different portals in the wider multiverse. Trust me, I checked. And while I don't think each one of these portals was individually selected and placed by the animators, it was more than likely done procedurally, but I'm willing to bet they did specifically decide on the ratios of the different types and colors of portals. And green circular portals are pretty unremarkable. Believe it or not, the most and least common portal types would be statistically unlikely to be the most effective or efficient. So Rick's being somewhere in the middle, we can't really make any assumptions on, but the fact that his is a green circle, not a green rectangle, is a sign he's at least below the ability of these other portal users, and for anyone who would disagree, I ask you to go immediately replace every door in your home with a round one.
You're a fucking dead man.
Okay, stop.
I'm gonna beat your ass.
Even if you think maybe he just prefers circles for whatever reason, you can't argue a rectangle would at least occasionally be more convenient, especially since it would be easier to scale outward or upward within a confined space if you needed a bigger portal for whatever reason. So it would at least be convenient to be able to switch between circular or rectangular, which honestly seems like the most Rick thing to do if he could do it. But even if you don't agree with me about the specific thing with the portal gun, there's also the indisputable fact that the ability to see through the portals is better, and that was not unique to the dinos. A decent number of the background portals were also semi-transparent. What was his reasoning for not needing it again?
That thing had uptight Zen snob germs all over it.
Valid. But even if, again, you say he has his reasons, it's still indisputable that it would occasionally be convenient, so he should at least be able to switch between the two if he could, which again, I don't think he can. And then on top of that is the fact that the glass that contains his portal fluid can apparently be shot out with a gun that doesn't even make a dent in grounds or walls. You'd think he'd use the glass from this. I can't prove it, but I'm guessing the portal users with rectangular, triangular, hexagonal, or transparent portals are not using glass that weak. What if I'm actually wrong about all of this and he actually can switch between all the different kinds and use stronger glass, but he's just never needed to, despite us seeing plenty of situations where it would have been convenient? Well, fair enough. But then there's this.
Do you know what the central finite curve is? They built a wall around infinity, separated all the infinite universes from all the infinite universes where he's the smartest man in the universe. Every version of us has spent every version of all of our lives in one infinite crib built around an infinite fucking baby.
And let's just take a second to unpack what that means, because he knew he was the smartest Rick aside from Prime, and while there's an argument that creating the central finite curve was a way to narrow the possible universes that Prime was in, I do think if Prime had wanted to leave the curve, he could have, and Rick would have known that. So he made the curve for the exact reason Evil Morty said, out of fear. If you're familiar with the Dark Forest theory, it's the equivalent of deciding to stay in the shrubbery where you know you're safe forever. Evil Morty, if anything, does the Rickest possible thing by breaking out into the wider multiverse. In fact, instead of calling him Evil Morty, we should just start calling him the Rickest Morty.
Tonight, the quality of dialogue stops mattering. Tonight, I do that thing I want to do with the curve thing.